Fan and the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network present Dallas Cowboys Football 2023.
Prescott walks the dog. Touchdown Cowboys.
In crystal clear HD stereo. Today's pregame show is brought to you by
Volleman's Dairy, the official milk of the Dallas Cowboys. Texaco. Texaco with Techron delivers unbeatable gas mileage. Texaco with Techron, driving performance. Arrow Exterminators, official pest control provider of the Dallas Cowboys. Buffalo Wild Wings. Blockchain.com. Make your crypto play today. And by DallasCowboys.com. Keep track of the boys with daily podcasts and up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com.
Now, here's Eric Chiofalo and Bryan Broaddus.
All right, Broaddus, I need your honesty here. I need you to be honest with me. Am I putting this Bills team, am I putting this Bills game on a bit of a pedestal? I think this is the last time in the regular season the Cowboys can legitimately level up before getting to teams like San Francisco. You're going to have the looming San Francisco question hanging over your head. I don't know that going to Miami and winning is the same as going to Buffalo in inclement weather. Yeah. And then you have a Washington, Detroit coming to AT&T Stadium in a couple of weeks. Tough game, but we're not going to learn much. You've beaten teams at home. Yeah. We know you can do that. Going on the road versus a quality team in some inclement weather, a quarterback that can run the football, which is something that has really challenged this defense over the last couple of seasons. To me, this is the last opportunity for the Cowboys in the regular season to really level up here.
I like where you're going. I like where you're going there.
I think it's a great opportunity.
It absolutely is. And there's a lot of questions about this football team, in a way of, can they go on the road? Can they win a tough game? Can they win in a tough environment? And the weather, it turns bad at the end of the season. And not many trips you get to go play in Buffalo. If you're going to get bad weather games, it's generally the variety of, maybe going to the Meadowlands late, or maybe even going to, up to FedEx Field late. But generally you don't get these kinds of opportunities to play an AFC team this late, and especially one that themselves is fighting for their playoff lives.
Agreed,
and
man.
They have
desperate team.
Man, both teams have a lot on the line here. The loser of this game, and Dallas will, if they lose this game, they'll go back and they'll look at it, and people, like you just said, will be very critical of how do they lose the game? Did they get out physicaled in the game? Did they make a bunch of mistakes? Was McCarthy the problem? We'll analyze what happened, but whoever wins this game, it might be the best that they feel all season, about a win.
About
about that quality of a win, to where you go, man, that in itself right there, that game right there proved that we have the mettle to be able to handle these difficult situations.
Yeah, I mean, this would be, I would say, far and away the best win of the season for the Cowboys, right?
I would absolutely, yes.
So, and it's one of those games, really the first game, they're on this great winning streak right now, but you've expected, even last week, we picked them to win versus the Eagles. We've expected them to win. This is the first game that I don't have the expectation of winning. And I've sort of had that feeling since the schedule came out.
Yeah.
But now you're seeing Buffalo, they're playing better. And they're better than their record. I mean, it's insane that they're at the 11th seed right now as it stands currently, and things move all the time rapidly week to week. But right now they're the 11th seed in the AFC, but I am extremely frightened of them.
Well, I'll tell you this, though. I kind of feel like they are who they are, in a way. I see what you're saying, but they've had some really bad losses along the way. They played very poorly at times. They haven't been a team that's been physical and been able to, to go out there and finish games and stuff. They've had some bad losses. You lose to New England, and bad loss. Jets, bad loss. They've had some of those games where they, Philadelphia. I mean, they had Philadelphia on the ropes, and didn't finish that game off. So I kind of feel like that they're a team that is very capable. Yeah, they have a quarterback that turns the ball over. The guy makes mistakes. Guy that costs some opportunities at times. So yeah, it's a good team, but I think the expectations of the Buffalo Bills for a lot of us going into the season was this was going to be a 13-win team, 12-win team. They're fighting for their playoff lives right now, and a lot of it is their own doing. So yeah, I respect what you're saying, absolutely, but I think that Buffalo's record is what they are. They just haven't been able to close out the games like they need to, and hopefully today they don't close this one out.
Fun opportunity, man. This is going to be a really awesome pregame show, and it's going to be a fun 4 quarters. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this game plays out because I think it's going to be, 2 solid teams getting after it, and the back and forth I think is going to be strong. And I don't know, with the weather, and I expect the scoring to come down a touch. If this was at AT&T Stadium, I'd be like, is this a 48-42 game?
Yeah, this is a game that no question, this would be a track meet if this was played in dry conditions. And talking to guys at the stadium who are getting ready for this game were telling me they expect this thing to be really wet. So, I think the team that runs the ball better is probably the Buffalo Bills. But if you talk about the quarterback and the playmakers on the outside, I think Dallas has a really good advantage here. I think Dallas has the better offensive line. I think if Dallas blocks this front, they'll be able to move the football. Now, if that turns into a lot of points, we'll see. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game myself. But I anticipate Dallas being able to move the ball through the air today. I really do.
Well, that's fantastic. Good opportunities here for the offense versus this Bills defense. It seems like they're keeping teams out of the end zone, like 18, 19 points a game. But they definitely have some blemishes on that defense that I know we're going to be able to pick apart here over the course of the next few hours on your official pregame show of America's team. Happy game day, ladies and gentlemen. Cowboys at Bills, Highmark Stadium, Orchard Park, New York. We thought it was going to be nasty weather, and it's not quite. It's like it is funny because the Bills
temperature's not bad.
The Bills aren't quite as good as you sort of thought they were going to be to start this thing, and the weather isn't probably quite as bad as you thought it might be on a day in Buffalo, New York in December. Yeah,
when you looked at this schedule when it came out, end of April, 1st of May, or whenever it came out, you were thinking, oh no, December trip to Buffalo, and to catch a game it's 48 degrees. I was expecting maybe in the teens. Those are just talking to people in Buffalo though too. Their players don't like playing in the teens either, or they don't like playing in the wet and the cold. Players want to play.
It's not fun for anybody.
It's not fun for anybody. They just happen to live in it. But this is. If you're telling me it's some, with the precipitation and it being 48 degrees in Buffalo in December, you'd take that all day.
All day.
Yeah.
We're already under 3 hours to kick off. It's a beautiful thing on a Cowboy game day. We'll go behind enemy lines with Sal Capaccio, Bills beat reporter and sideline reporter on the Bills radio network. So looking forward to chatting with Sal here in just a few minutes. Cowboys Nation, come out early to the Miller Lite House Cowboy home games, the pregame gathering destination on the West Plaza of the stadium. Miller Lite is the only beer of the Cowboys. And we invite all Cowboys fans to join us for a great tailgate event. Sample some awesome seltzer brands as well, like Vizzy Hard Seltzer, the official hard seltzer of the Cowboys. Now, you mentioned good opportunities here for this Cowboy offense versus the Bills defense, and I do wonder with Josh Allen running the way he's running, and they're just sort of unleashing him because all these games matter so much to them. I wonder how interested, and we've seen Dak start to be much more interested in using his legs to either buy time or go scramble, whatever. I wonder if you would see Dak say, all right, if he's going to run around and do that, maybe I'll take it up a notch from my standpoint running the football.
I think we're that time of year, Eric, where all quarterbacks are open to running the football. However you can gain yards, you got to be open to. If all of a sudden the rush lanes for the Buffalo Bills get pinned on one side of the defense and Dak sees an opportunity with a lot of green grass in front of him, go for it.
All right, let's go for it. We head out to Orchard Park, New York, Highmark Stadium behind enemy lines as we welcome in the sideline reporter for the Bills Radio Network, Sal Capaccio, our good friend. We're all friends this week, right? Broaddus, you hopped on. You joined him. I got to join him. Sal, how the heck are you on a game day?
I'm doing great. I had to make a lot of Cowboys friends last night. Big friends with how Cowboys Nation, you guys know, they travel well, and they're a brand around the country. A lot of them are going to be at the stadium today. I actually have two friends of mine that flew up from Florida that are Cowboys fans, but I treated them right this week. So, maybe not after the game today. I might not be as nice to them. We'll see what happens, but we're all friends.
Hey, Sal, enjoyed being on your podcast this week, and thanks for having me. Very nice, you guys. But you Buffalo fans and stuff, you guys don't give up your tickets, right? How'd these Cowboy fans get tickets?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, secondary market's a real thing, right? And honestly, the Bills. If you're in Dallas, you look at ticket prices there. You look at a lot of these big markets, and it's expensive to go to a lot of these games.
Sure,
it's one of the lower price points in the league here in Buffalo. So it's for someone to give up their ticket, they could make a really good buck, while somebody who's buying it isn't paying as much as they would to go to Dallas. Obviously,
wow.
And look, and honestly, guys, we're so close to the Canadian border that I would tell you that the Cowboys, the Raiders, and the Dolphins, the teams that were really good in the 70s, are very popular in southern Ontario, just across the border. We get a lot of Canadian fans here in Buffalo, and you'll get a lot of those types of fans when they come here, and they'll get tickets from their friends who have Bills tickets, basically.
Wow.
I love it, Sal. I was actually curious. I was going to ask you just about the fan base in Buffalo, Bills Mafia. I feel like they're one of the more respected fan bases across football because they're certainly nuts, but they're entertaining, and they don't seem like total bleep holes like Philly fans. So, but when did the Mafia really start to garner that? Like jumping through the tables that are lit on fire, like the rabid nature of what we know today as Bills Mafia. Has that always been the case?
No, well, it's been pretty crazy. You go back to some Monday night games in the 70s. There was a guy one time in a Monday night game against the Dolphins that was walking the tightrope, the wire that hangs over the goalpost that they put the net up on. He was like walking that thing one time. It was crazy. So you get things like that. But in its current form, it's actually a really good question. What happened was for many years, the Bills, we had the longest playoff drought in professional sports here. It was 20 years, 17 years without making the playoffs. But the stadium still sold out every game, and fans came, but it became more about, I'm going to go and party and hang out with my friends on a Sunday because the team's not that good. So people just drank in the parking lots, and then the advent of cell phones and going viral and YouTube and TikTok and all these different things, people started doing some weird things, and it went viral, and then they said, oh, maybe I'll be the next viral person. Maybe I'll do this. And then what happened along the way was really became a great thing, which was after Andy Dalton threw the pass to get the Bills in the playoffs by beating the Baltimore Ravens years ago, Bills fans, to recognize that, started donating money to his charity. And then that became a thing, right? Bills Mafia is all about giving back and charitable organizations. And that's really where it is now. It's not about the tables and the lighting yourself on fire. It's about coming to the game, enjoying your communal effort and helping people and helping your fellow fan and friend. And Bills Mafia actually now has become more along the lines of helping out the community and raising money for various organizations all around the country.
Hey, Sal, okay, man, we all respect and love the Buffalo fans. I just hope you guys go home not happy today.
I'm sure.
Yeah, much like you probably all your Cowboy buddies go home unhappy too. But I wanted to ask you, though, looking from the Bills' perspective, the biggest concern, is it offensively or defensively when you look at this Dallas Cowboys team?
I think it's the Dallas offense against the Bills defense, and not that the Bills defense is bad. They're a top 5 defense in the league, and that's, the Bills have had to piece it together. No Tre'Davious White, no Daquan Jones, no Matt Milano, who was an all-pro last year and playing all-pro level football when he got hurt, and he's out for the year. And those are 3 big losses all at each level. But Sean McDermott's a really good defensive mind. He's done a great job with it, but there's been times this year where teams have found success because they're just not the same when you don't have those players. And now you go against a guy like Dak Prescott, and he's playing such great football, and he's an MVP candidate, maybe the front runner, and CeeDee Lamb, and the guys that you have. And I think that's the more pressing part. The Bills have great talent on offense, and I think they've started to unlock that again with the change in offensive coordinator. They go from Ken Dorsey to Joe Brady, and that week they go against the Jets defense and score 32. Then the next week it's the Eagles defense, they score 34. I mean, you guys know you can still score in that team, but they have a good defense. Then they go to Kansas City last week, and they wind up moving the ball and doing some really nice things. They wind up winning that game. So I think Bills fans are confident they can move the ball. They can score. I think there's some opportunity they can have against this Cowboys defense, the way that they play and their man-to-man defense, and to play so much dime. But on the other end, stopping the Cowboys from scoring, I think, is the Bills' biggest fear.
Sal, your quarterback, is there always a concern, though, with the turnovers? Is that because, I know on our end of it here, we're thinking about, damn, please don't let him run. How physical he could be and how he plays the game in that style. But as a Bills fan, do you worry about the turnovers, or is that something that you kind of accept that's part of his game?
That's more like it. You don't worry about it because if you're going to get some of those, you're also going to get 2 or 3 touchdowns that go along with those.
Sure.
I mean, This guy, it's crazy how much. It's like last year. Remember, Dak was getting killed for interceptions last year.
Absolutely.
Right? Half of them weren't really on him. Right? I mean, it was really unlucky. Look, Josh Allen, he's a gunslinger. He's going to throw a ball once a game where you go, man, he shouldn't have made that decision. But you live with that because he's going to make 3 or 4 plays that no other human being can make. That's going to help you in a game. And I've always said, guys, if you take that out of his game that causes that turnover, you're neutering Josh Allen. You're not making him special. That's what makes him special. He can make plays that no one else can make. Look at last week. He threw one bad pass that turned into a turnover. And then on 3rd and 4th down, he was Superman a few times, and he made plays that nobody else can make. So are Bills fans worried about the turnover? No. Bills fans accept the turnover and say, I'll live with that because he's going to give me plays that no one else can make. When it comes to running, Josh is a big threat to run. We all know that. But he hasn't really run as much this year. He's been running a little bit more. In fact, a few weeks ago, talking point here in Buffalo is we need Josh Allen to run more. He's not running as much. But, guys, that just shows you he beat you from the pocket, too. He leads the league in touchdowns, and he's not even running that much this year.
Yeah, he's a freak show. Behind Enemy Lines with Sal Capaccio, sideline reporter on the Bills Radio Network. We talk about Josh Allen. You mentioned the offensive coordinator switch from Ken Dorsey to Joe Brady. What are the differences, and how much better is this offense today than it was maybe a month ago?
I think the big difference is Joe Brady is using a lot more motion, a lot more eye candy to try and create matchups. I think what happened was Ken Dorsey was like, hey, we're really good. We're going to do what we do. You got to stop us. Whereas Joe Brady is more of like Brian Daboll was when he was here, which is, okay, we're good. We can do what we do. But here's what they do, and we're going to have a few opportunities to run this play or that play, and they have a few wrinkles in. I don't think Ken Dorsey had enough wrinkles in against the specific defense they're playing. So I think today, especially because it looks like, and I read some things, I think Dan Orlovsky had something about how the Cowboys struggle a lot more in defense when they see a lot more motion because of their man-to-man and things like that. Yep. I think you'll see that a lot more from the Bills today. They've been incorporating a lot more motion. But the other thing is, ever since Joe Brady's been the OC, guys, it's not just Stephon Diggs anymore. In fact, Stephon Diggs hasn't been much of a factor the last 4 weeks. It's James Cook out of the backfield. It's Dalton Kincaid, who's having a great rookie year. Khalil Shakir, who's in the slot. The Bills are really spreading the ball around, and everybody's contributing in the passing game, and they're still scoring points now.
Hey, Sal, you mentioned about James Cook, and I mean, you throw on your tape, and that's the first thing that jumps out to me and how well he's played. I mean, I really like all your backs, to be honest with you. Do you feel like today is the game plan where that they maybe load up, maybe they challenge Dallas to, say, hey, let's see if you can play run defense, or is it going to be just kind of what we've seen the last couple of weeks with you guys throwing the football as well as you have?
I think if the Cowboys stick to their normal, a lot of dime, right? They play a lot of dime, a lot of 3 safety looks. That's a light box. And I think the Bills will challenge them and try and say, okay, play some big boy football then, because we're going to come at you with our run game. That's what I think they do. But you have Josh Allen. Listen, guys, anytime you have Josh Allen, even if the running game is part of the major philosophy, you're going to want Josh Allen to throw. You want this offense to run through Josh Allen and have him throw the ball. So I do think the Bills will look. And obviously, the other byproduct is if you do run the ball, you can slow things down and keep the ball away from Dak Prescott in that offense, which is great. And I think the Bills would love to do that on a day like today. So what I think you're going to see is the Bills say, okay, you want to come with a light box? We're going to run the ball at you. And as soon as you creep up, we're going to have Josh Allen take the ball downfield a little bit with his arm.
Sal, you were very complimentary of the AT&T Stadium press box. I believe you said 10 out of 10 when it comes to the cuisine. What would you, if AT&T Stadium's 10 out of 10? What is Highmark Stadium?
It used to be probably like a 4 or 5. It's probably 7 or 8 now. It's probably 7 or 8. And that's hey, I wouldn't give a lot of places 7 or 8, just so you know. But I give AT&T a 10. They took care of us there. Now we were there for Thanksgiving. Yeah. Let's remember that. So it was special, right? But I don't know if it's this. I've heard from around the league though, and other people, it's always good. No, it's really good here. They do a great job. Years ago, I wouldn't have said that, but they've really stepped up their game the last few years. And you never know what you're going to get up there. A lot of people, I know people want wings. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. We got great pizza here, but the stadium press box food is really good. Look, this is a older stadium. It's one of the oldest in the league. It's 50 years old. It was open at 50 years old this week. It's still got great sight lines. Anywhere you sit in the stadium is amazing. But guys, it's old. There's one tunnel in, one tunnel out. The upper deck is a lot of the wind damage over the years. They have to replace it every year. There is a brand new stadium going across the street here. They just broke ground this year. It's going to be ready in 2026. It's going to be a state of the art, no dome. I mean, would have been a $500 million more dollars. What people said in Buffalo, what they said in surveys, we don't mind being cold. We just don't like being wet. So they're going to put like a canopy like you see in Seattle or Miami, where a lot of the fans stay dry, but you're still going to get the inclement weather and the coldness. And, people aren't going to complain about that because they know it's an advantage sometimes here in Buffalo, but it's going to be a really nice state-of-the-art outdoor stadium.
Love it, Sal. Thank you so much, man. Sal Capaccio, sideline reporter of the Bills Radio Network. Sal, you're a beast. Enjoy the game, sir.
All right, you guys too. Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, sir. There he goes. How about that, man? That new stadium's probably going to be pretty sweet.
Yeah. Outdoors. How about that?
Well, it's like a little halfy.
Yeah.
Little.
Well, get ready. You're going to see something today when they show like aerial shots. There's going to be a section that looks orange on both sides of the field, like in the premium seats.
Down low?
Yeah, they're heaters. They got heaters up top. So it looks like everybody's like in a warmer. Like you'll see these orange strips. So like
that's wonderful.
So if you pay the premium price, they give you a little warmth.
Get what you pay for over there.
Yeah, get a little warmth. So I'm sure they're going to probably incorporate that in the new place as well.
Or maybe you just bring a good friend along like Broaddus and they'll lend
your jacket. Yeah. I don't know if we were. I think on a 48-degree day, I'd give you my jacket. It was 40-something degrees last week, and I gave you my jacket.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But if that thing got in the teens, bro, I would definitely call you out like before you even got in the car.
Yeah, no, that would have been a problem.
Yeah.
That would have been a problem.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like you're going to be in good shape there early on with your survivor pick for the G-Bag Nation this week. You picked the Titans. They've already got.
I picked the Houston Oilers. Is who I picked. It looked like here. I love these uniforms, by the way, that the Titans are throwing down.
Yeah, that's a pretty good troll there by the Titans.
That is a really good
playing the Houston Texans and wearing the old school Houston Oilers uniform. But somebody's got to do it because it looks too sharp for that thing to just be, put to bed somewhere. So that's a good look. But you're already up 13-0 right now, feeling good about your Titans in Survivor. Just getting started on the official pregame show of America's team. Already went behind enemy lines. We'll get you Greg Olsen on the call for Fox a little bit later on in this hour. But today's player profile, Tony Pollard, looking for a big one on the ground today. Let's hear from Tony coming up next right here on The Fan.
Football Club Barcelona arrives to Cotton Bowl Stadium this December 21st.
The Fan. Tolo, baby. KRLD FM and HD1, Dallas Fort Worth.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Under 3 hours to kickoff. Are you kidding me? This is beautiful, man. I'm really fired up for this game. This is, like, I was a little bit scared of San Francisco. I'm not necessarily scared of the Bills, though I don't have the expectation they're going to win. I just think this is going to be really, really fun and an opportunity to see the Cowboys in a little bit of a different light on the road in some inclement weather. It's going to be fun. The rushing attack is going to be hugely important today. Malik Davis gets the elevation because they're like, man, we might need Pollard, we might need Dowdle, we might need Davis, we might need all three of these guys.
I know a lot of people are asking me, well, what's wrong with Deuce Vaughn? Deuce Vaughn doesn't play any special teams. You can't dress Deuce Vaughn. If he's one of the 48, you've got to be able to have guys that can go out and play other snaps and stuff like that at other spots. And to have Malik Davis, he could do those things. And so, it's Deuce Vaughn, it's just unfortunate. I mean, his height limits what he can do or how he can help you in these games, especially when he doesn't play special teams.
Yeah, Malik Davis is able to do that, so he gets the elevation, and we'll see how this rushing attack faces this Bills front. I think we're going to feel pretty good about the matchup there as we dive into it, but let's hear from Tony Pollard. He is today's player profile alongside the three-time Hall of Famer Chris Arnold.
Tony Pollard, how you feeling this week?
I'm feeling good. I'm ready to go.
It seemed like you're feeling good. As a matter of fact, I noticed in the last game against the Eagles, you guys were running the ball as much as it seemed like it's passing the ball. You're trying to get physical with that defensive line they got?
Just knowing the team that we're playing. They like to, time of possession. That was big for them. So, we can do the same thing. So just being physical, taking it to them.
Can you see that kind of playing out against Buffalo?
I feel like that's our identity. Just being physical with teams, playing hard-nosed football. And, just grinding, going out there executing.
And you seem like you're healthier now. It seemed like early in the year you were still coming off of the injury. But right now it seems like all systems go. You feel that good?
Yeah, I'm good. Early in the year, coming off the injury, I was still, getting a feel for things, how I would play in, like, real game speed. But for right now, I think I'm pretty good. I'm ready to go.
They say the weather could get dicey. Not cold, but they say it could rain. Have you guys been doing some things to prepare for that?
Yeah, we had wet balls drills today, just catching wet balls, wet handoffs, things like that.
And is there something about the defense for the Buffalo Bills with Von Miller over there? Is anything you notice that when you look at the tape of them, what they do or what they don't do?
I like to play aggressive. Linebackers like to be aggressive in the run fits. I like to keep the same personnel and just do a lot of different variety of looks on defense. So they do a good job of disguising things and stuff like that.
Mike McCarthy's been calling some excellent games. I've noticed, though, they haven't been passing it to you very much, but they can. Are you ready for all the different kind of touches as you had in the past?
I'm always ready.
You're always ready. And also, what's the difference on a road game as opposed to home? You guys are so dominant at home, 15 straight, 30-something plus points a game at home. Is there something about the road that's a little bit different or something you feel like you're ready for this stretch of December?
Honestly, I feel like we're ready. We've loaded up on our home games, had 3 in a row, taking that big chunk of confidence with us and, taking it to Buffalo.
I appreciate it, TP. Good luck this afternoon.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you.
All right, and that is today's player profile brought to you by Papa John's. It's big, it's good, and it's only for Cowboys fans. The Cowboys Special from Papa John's, a large one-topping pizza for only $9.99. Order today. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's, the official pizza of the Dallas Cowboys. And on that note, it's probably a good time to ask the Tolos at 877-881-1053 what is on your game day menu. Mike and Caddo Mills always getting it done. We know that for sure, and we'd love to hear what you got cooking today. How do you feel like this offense is going to be cooking from a rushing attack standpoint? Pollard, Dowdle, Malik Davis, maybe Dak getting involved with his legs. How important is that today?
Yeah, it is really important, and it not just because of the weather, but I just feel like, though, you need to kind of find a way to stay ahead of the chains the best you can. We'll see how things shake out, but the Buffalo Bills will struggle a little bit because of how aggressive their front is. Their front wants to get up the field. They want to rush the passer. When you start talking about Leonard Floyd and Ed Oliver and Greg Russo and those guys, I mean, they want to get up the field. So and they're a little bit lighter at linebacker. With no Milano there playing for them, they've struggled a little bit with some of their size. So when people have been able to get blockers up on the second level, it's kind of given these linebackers, Dotson and Bernard, a little bit of some trouble. And if Dallas can I would not be opposed at all if they can lean on that run game today, and it'd help them with some of the other things that they're kind of trying to do. With getting Ferguson involved on these safeties, the running game is always really good with the waggles and the boots, and when you could get that going, then this offense can function, and it just opens up so much more for them.
So is this, in terms of how they play, Sean McDermott and company, is it pretty black and white, or do they like to mix things up quite a bit? Is this a four-man rush?
Yeah, it's going to be four-man rush, and they're really going to rely on their front. And when they blitz, it's going to be from the secondary. It's not so much the linebackers that blitz. It's more about the secondary. You're going to see safeties that are going to blitz. You're going to see the corner blitz, the slot blitz. Very similar to what, if we all remember under the Rod Marinelli administration, when with Orlando Scandrick and his ability to play really tight slot and then blitz from the backside, and then you never see him. And so that could very well happen in this football game today. So Pollard and Rico Dowdle and everybody else needs to be on the screws today when it comes to knowing, okay, this is the front. Usually with Pollard, it's check linebackers and then kind of navigate from there. But now he's going to have to be aware of outside slot pressure, safety pressure coming from the inside as well.
Okay, now one of the things that gives me really, really great confidence about this Cowboys offense versus the Bills defense, there's a lot of things. I think they'll be able to run the ball well, but I know that the spine of their defense, the middle of the field, you mentioned no Milano.
Yeah.
They lose their best linebacker, one of the best linebackers in all of football earlier in the season, and since then, especially with the issues at safety where they got guys banged up as well, like that, the spine of their second and third levels defensively is a huge problem, and in the middle of that field, there's going to be great opportunities. Dak to Ferguson. That should be sort of an all-day situation if weather allows, because you see 31st in passer rating, 30th in success rate, and 26th in expected points added per play is the Bills' defense versus passes in the middle of the field. And Dak and Ferguson, Dak and Lamb, I mean, he lives there.
Yeah, that's we've seen the Cowboys take advantage with movement, and I mean movement of routes that have allowed Ferguson to play up the seam. The Lamb will test your, for a defense, Lamb will test your ability to cover him because of how his routes are across the field. And so now your eyes are chasing him like, okay, where's CeeDee Lamb going? I need to follow that. Then all of a sudden there's a play behind or a route behind that. Cooks is the same way. Like I say, Cooks will carry a route vertically, and then you get Tolbert and Lamb, and all of a sudden they carried 4 Eagles across the field the other day. That's just, man, all of a sudden that puts guys in one-on-one spots. So, this safety crew for Jordan Poyer, and then we'll see if him and Taylor Rapp can be able to handle it today, because they're going to have to be good in the middle.
Greg Olsen on the call for Fox, former NFL tight end, joins us here in just a few minutes. But speaking of tight end, I'm curious, have we reached the point of Jake Ferguson being a guy that needs to be the second most targeted? And I will ask Greg Olsen that question and much more coming up next right here on The Fan.
'Tis the season for Dallas Cowboys holiday youth football and dance camps, presented by
Town RV, the official RV dealer of the Dallas Cowboys.
All right, Greg Olsen, 3-time Pro Bowler, on the call today for Fox alongside Kevin Burkhardt. Joins us now on your home of the Cowboys, 105.3 The Fan. Greg, happy game day, sir. Cowboys-Bills. I'm hearing the weather's getting a little bit nasty out there. What can you tell us?
Yeah, well, it feels like Buffalo, but not in the sense of we anticipated it being a little bit colder when we saw this on our schedule. You know, a mid-December game in Buffalo, traditionally you're finding yourself in a cold one. It's only in the 40s, but it's had a pretty good steady rain here so far during pregame. So I think they're calling for that and some winds throughout the rest of the game. So we'll see how that affects what everybody is prepared for all week.
Yeah. Do you feel like that's an advantage one way or another?
You know, you always have to imagine that the team playing in these conditions and practicing in these conditions, you know, versus, you know, an indoor team or a team that doesn't necessarily play in the elements as often would have the advantage. I don't think, you know, with quarterbacks like Dak and Josh Allen, I don't think the weather is going to play. I don't think it's going to be a monsoon by any means, but I think they're both so good with the ball. I think they're both so strong. They can cut the ball through wind and their ability to throw in different elements. I think they'll be fine, but, you know, the rest of the guys, ball handling, the receivers, to me, it's more of those guys than it is the quarterbacks. But I think if it stays like this, I don't think it's too serious enough to really alter anything too drastically.
Greg, it always appeared to me that when you get conditions like this, guys like yourself, the tight ends are your best friends throwing the football. Do you anticipate, I mean, both teams have quality tight ends at their disposal. How do you see this thing maybe playing out with one of those groups being the difference in this game today? Yeah,
well, whether or not, you know, being a factor, I love both. I think Jake Ferguson and Dalton Kincaid, I love both these young guys. I think, you know, both these guys, you know, a rookie and a second-year player in Jake, I'm really impressed when you put on the film and you watch them, their ability to create, their ability to both run after the catch and win matchups. You know, I always say there's two types of tight ends in the league, right? There's the guy that has to be scripted open. He needs to run a naked route. He needs to run a play action where the scheme gets him open. I think and that's where most young tight ends come into the league. They kind of fit into that mold. But I think with both these guys, their ability to create on their own, both before and after the catch. If it's one-on-one, just flat out win matchups, separate, catch the ball with their hands, and then become really good runners after the catch. That's what stands out to me the most about Jake Ferguson. I think his run after catch and his ability to be aggressive with the ball in his hands adds a little bit of a different element than they've had in years past at the position. So I love both these guys. And yes, to your point, the worse the weather, shorter throws, especially if the wind picks up. You know, you want to get that ball up and down as fast as you can, and typically where the tight end operates between the hashes, kind of within that 10, 15-yard box, leads to some friendly throws, you know, especially when the weather conditions get real bad.
Greg, when you look at this Josh Allen and the way that he plays and the physical style that he plays, and I think the Cowboys, you'd have to be worried about him. And I know he hasn't run a lot. We've seen him run in the past, but I think there would have to be some concern. We always like to throw the buzzword out there about spying a guy. Where are you on playing a spy-type defense against a quarterback that has running ability?
I think you have to pick your chance, pick your moments, and I think that's what Dan Quinn's going to have to kind of sort out, and obviously he'll do a good job doing that. I think you have to be careful if you're going to rush 5 down, which Dallas wants to do, right? They want to create a lot of one-on-one matchups, especially in third and pass situations, where they can now get those matchups with Parsons and Odigizua and all those great rushers that they have and try to win one-on-one. That's obviously what they want to do. But now all of a sudden, if you take a 6th guy and he's not in the pass coverage, he's not in the back end, you know, whether it's zone or being a free player in any sort of man-free defense, now all of a sudden you're really depleting. Not only are you bringing 5 in the rush, but now a 6th guy is really out of pass coverage. So I think you have to pick your spots. I think the pass rushers have to act as spies on their way as pass rushers. I don't think you can just rush crazy up the field and get pushed by them. I don't think the inside guys can lose the integrity. Whatever their rush lane is, you have to hold it. You have to rush Josh Allen as a unit. This is not 5 guys rushing individually as much as 4 or 5 guys rushing as a collective unit to sustain him. And if you're going to make him run, you got to make him go left. If you make him go right as a runner and a passer, just his ability to convert first downs. It's a challenge. I think everything for Dallas defensively today, as you would imagine, starts with containing Josh Allen, both as a design runner, both as a scrambler, and then obviously as a passer a passer both in and outside of the pocket.
Greg Olsen with us here on the Fan on the Call for Fox today. Cowboys and Bills. When you got to sit down in the production meetings, hanging out with McCarthy, Dak, what was the most interesting nuggets from this week's hangout?
Yeah, I'm just so impressed by, it's been fun. We've called so many of their games. I feel like we've really called games at like every chapter of the season. I look back at my notes, over the last couple of times we've called them, and some of those first games that we called of Dallas earlier in the season, the conversation was, the turnovers are down. Mike McCarthy's new offense is struggling to generate, explosive plays. They're not converting in the red zone. It seems like that was 10 years ago, right? Because since they've come out of the bye, they've pretty much been good in every single metric of offense, of how you evaluate elite offenses in this league. And obviously a big part of that is the way in which Dak is playing. But I think Mike McCarthy deserves a lot of credit. I think a lot of people kind of scratch their head when they let go of Kellen Moore. You're scoring almost 30 a game and you fire your coordinator. And I think Mike McCarthy's vision of what he wanted this offense to be is exactly what we're seeing here in real time. And it took some time. It took a little bit of him getting his feet back under him as a play caller and getting a feel for exactly how Dak reacts in game. And I'll tell you that the ability to get back to the explosive element that this offense had always been known for, but without the increase in the turnover-worthy plays, I think that's the story of the season. That's why Mike McCarthy made the switch to installing himself as the play caller, and I think that's a reason why Dak finds himself, in that MVP front-runner position.
Greg, what makes James Cook so good?
Yeah, I'll tell you, since Buffalo had their coordinator change now, going from Kenny Dorsey to Joe Brady, it's really the big element that's taken a big jump has been the use of James Cook. And I think, you're always used to running backs that are good runners, right? You hand them the ball and they're explosive through the hole. And, that's probably expected at this level. But I think what's really impressive for him, that he's a running back that doesn't just need to get the ball in the passing game in checkdowns and screens and kind of underneath stuff and do all of it after the catch. We saw him last week with that big touchdown out of the backfield, running a little inside vertical shoot route. They ran him on a wheel route, another part of the game. I mean, he can have explosive downfield receptions, almost like a slot receiver would. And I think that's an element now that they're really starting to lean on and just continue to find other weapons that Josh Allen can go to that help him get the ball out of his hand, doesn't make him hold and create so often playing off script. And I think the kind of the ascension of James Cook as both a designed runner and a element of the passing game, I think I would expect to be a big factor today, and I'm sure Dallas understands that and is going to be keened in for it.
I mean, can you remember seeing an 11th seed this late in the season being as scary as Buffalo?
No, it's the old Bill Parcells, you are what your record says you are, kind of that famous line. And while that's traditionally true in the NFL, there's not a lot of excuses. There's not a lot of, hey, we got close. I almost feel like if there is ever an exception to the rule, it's Buffalo, right? When they win big, and when they lose small, which is kind of an indication of a team that might be better than their record is. But, they have to find a way, meaning Buffalo, they have to find a way to win some of these games at the end. They have to find a way to play better situational football and make better decisions, game management or individual player decisions, turnovers, whatever it is. They have to do a better job finishing these games, because when they're rolling, they're as good as anybody in the league. It's just when those games get tight at the end, it seems this year it's been a combination of, some self-inflicted wounds and the reality in the NFL, a lot of it sometimes just comes down to just plain old luck.
Greg, both teams really need this game. I know Buffalo probably needs it even more, but what is it if, say, Dallas wins this game? What is the narrative about Dallas coming out of this game? I know a lot of people are talking about, they don't win games on the road. They can't beat anybody that's got a tough, defense. They can't win against a tough opponent. What would the narrative be in your eyes if they find a way to win this game today?
Yeah, I think there's a lot. I think this is, assuming, that they would have to go, we'll see how the playoff seedings go, play out, and, do they have to play an outdoor, can they win the division and get a home playoff game? Do they have to be as a wild card and go on the road, presumably through a Philly or a San Francisco, where elements come into play, the weather comes into play, playing on the road, tough environment. So I think this is kind of a precursor for what those January games feel like as you find your way down the playoff stretch. So I think there's a lot. I think, the narrative, hey, yeah, they're undefeated at home, but not so good on the road. And I think that's all part of just kind of answering the story and getting that narrative. And in the event they don't win the division, it's going to be a road battle. They're going to have to win on the road if they want to find themselves on their way to the Super Bowl. So I think games like today, even though it's an out-of-conference opponent, an opponent you don't necessarily see very often, I think this is a pseudo-playoff game for them in a lot of senses. They're going to make the playoffs, win or lose, but I think obviously, A, they want to get home field advantage, and B, if they don't, can we show to ourselves, more importantly than anybody else, can we operate in bad weather, bad conditions on the road against a very good opponent like they would have to do come playoff time?
Greg, always a treat, man. Thank you so much for the time.
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. There he goes, Greg Olsen, Fox TV's own, and he'll be on the call today with Kevin Burkhardt, Aaron Andrews, Tom Rinaldi, always star-studded there. Fox, we've gotten to chat with Greg Olsen quite a bit this season, and he's right. It's like every step of the way, it's sort of a different conversation of where the Cowboys have been at. Now they're rocking and rolling. Everybody's feeling great about this offense, and I was going to ask you, he was very, very excited when discussing Jake Ferguson there. Yeah. Should he be now, when it comes to this passing game for the Cowboys, should he be the second fiddle sort of to CeeDee Lamb? CeeDee's got to get all the targets. Yeah. He should be second most targeted at this point, right?
I absolutely feel that CeeDee Lamb is the most important part of the passing offense. Of course, the offensive line with the protection and all, but
in terms of like quality of targets,
absolutely. I think it's never a bad opportunity to throw a ball to Jake Ferguson, just because of how he's able to make plays, how he's able to finish in space. To me, you look at those chunk plays. Seems like every time you throw him the ball, it's a 30-something yard gain. So having him, Cooks, those guys, all those guys need target, but targeting Ferguson the most is not a problem in my eyes at all.
All right, the official pregame show brought to you by Reliant and NRG Company, 877-881-1053, the 913. Broaddus checks in, drove to Buffalo from North Carolina.
Wow.
Tons of Cowboys fans here
That's
today.
Great. Yeah, there you go.
And enjoying the pregame show. How about that, man? That's fantastic.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
I imagine hanging out on the Odyssey app, maybe Twitch or YouTube. Either way, we appreciate you rocking with us, the official pregame show of the Cowboys. And that's pretty exciting if they're going to have a nice contingent of Cowboys fans. I thought Bills Mafia would be, stiff-arming Cowboy fans away when trying to get some tickets.
Yeah, I never felt like that you were going to. There's a couple of places you go in this league that you don't feel like you're going to get visiting tickets. Maybe the allotment that you have, but anything above that, probably not going to happen. But that's great that fans have made the commitment. But that's what Cowboy fans do. They do make the commitment when their team's close enough.
Dang right.
They give it a go.
626 Tolo in L.A. Tri-tip and burgers on the smoker.
There you go.
That West Coast, that tri-tip, man.
Hey, don't skimp on the cheese now. It makes sure you don't. I'm nothing against Kraft singles, but go out and get you some decent cheese to put on that burger.
Couldn't agree more. 254 Hayden smoked Wagyu beef ribs for Cowboys-Bills today.
Yeah, there you go. Be careful not to oversauce those things too. Let the natural flavor of the meat take care of that.
That's a pro tip. Okay, quickly on Micah Parsons, who can we attack on this offensive line today with him? It seems to be there's usually a guy that's like, hey, Micah, let's try and get you one-on-one.
Yeah, your most Connor McGovern probably the most. Mitch Morse, the center, is a pretty. These guys just don't give up sacks. It's because their quarterback moves around.
He runs away from
him. He runs
him.
away. He finds a way to throw the ball away. That's sometimes you get mistakes. Osiris Torrance is a huge guy inside, maybe a little bit slow-footed at times. So I would say that to me, you would probably have a better chance of going against McGovern because you know what you're dealing with right there. You know how to kind of break him down a little bit.
Okay, the tackles are respectable.
Oh, yeah. Deion Dawkins is a good player. And
I thought Spencer Brown was a guy you might be able to pick on
maybe
a little bit,
maybe a little bit, but like I said, it's to me, it's Tank does a great job of dealing with those right tackles to begin with. So if he could kind of soften him up a little bit, get him a little bit out of his game, then you bring Micah over to that side, let him rush a little bit. That's a little bit different look. So, Spencer Brown would. I agree with you on that. I just feel like that McGovern inside might be the best option right now to quickly get on. You want to quickly get to this guy, the quarterback, and we want to be able to get him on the ground though too.
Yeah, Josh Allen, one of the best in the sport, when under pressure because he can just evade it.
Yeah,
and one of the best versus the blitz, which is interesting as we know Dan Quinn this year been really liking bringing bring in pressures, bring in 5 guys. So I'm looking forward to the game plan here. Much more to discuss when it comes to how the Cowboys attack this Bills offense defensively. So we'll get that broken down by Broaddus. But let's hang out with Babe Laufenberg. We go back out to Highmark Stadium, and we inch closer and closer to kickoff. Now 2 hours to kick Cowboys-Bills. Babe Laufenberg joins us next right here on The Fan.
Is your workplace on?
driving performance. And by Papa John's, the official pizza of the Dallas Cowboys. Papa John's, better ingredients, better pizza.
Under 2 hours to kick here on your home of the Cowboys, 105.3 The Fan. Cowboy game day, Cowboys and Bills. We'll get you Babe Laufenberg in just a second, but how about this? A man after your own heart brought us in the 972. Gumbo, red beans and rice and yellow bellies for the game today.
Well done.
Yeah, Broaddus would love to make it to your tailgate, 972,
Absolutely.
just so you know.
Yep.
And a man you'd always love to have at your tailgate is Mr. Babe Laufenberg. He's live in Orchard Park,
He'll show up
New York.
empty-handed, though.
Highmark Stadium. Will Babe Laufenberg show up handed? I would imagine you'll be bringing that Yo Quiero guacamole or something with you, Babe.
That's exactly right. I'll show up empty-handed, but let me just tell you, I will not leave empty-handed.
Yeah, that's right.
Can you guys box some of that up for me?
Yes, yes.
I made that move in the press box at AT&T Stadium a couple of times, man. Like, hey, why not?
I love it.
Little to-go box. Speaking of that, I imagine I actually set the over-under personally at 19.5 buffalo wings for Babe Laufenberg on a Saturday night in Orchard Park. So I don't know. I hit the over, by the way. I did. So I hope you did as well, Babe.
You know, I did not do buffalo wings. I just grabbed something and ate in the room and watched Denver and Detroit last night and enjoyed it. But a quick buffalo wing story. Years ago, Michael Ray was our Christy Scales. He was our sideline reporter. So we checked into Buffalo Hotel, playing the Bills, of course, and they had a little kind of a welcoming basket for you, if you will. One of the things in there was a bottle of the barbecue sauce or the hot wing sauce, buffalo sauce from the Anchor Bar, which is the original buffalo wing.
Mm-hmm.
Buffalo wings, as most people know. I go to put it in my suitcase as we're coming over, getting on the bus, getting ready to go to the game and then fly home, obviously. And as I'm putting it in, I thought, you know, it's like a $5 bottle of buffalo sauce. What if it breaks or something? And I thought, risk reward. I left it. Long and short, Michael Ray gets back. Next day he says, you're not going to believe this. That bottle of buffalo sauce broke in my suitcase. It was on everything. So it validated my decision to not save the $5 or whatever that bottle was worth and leave it back in the room.
Smart man, Babe. Smart man. That's a heady play. That's a veteran move. Good for you. Now,
how'd you like to get all that buffalo stuff out of your clothes and your suitcase?
I'll be honest with you. I love buffalo sauce so much, I wouldn't mind if it smelled like it a little bit.
I'll tell you a quick story. We had a scout that I picked up at the East-West game there in Palo Alto there, Babe, and he brought a bottle of tequila on a plane one time with him, and it broke in his luggage. Ooh. And that smell driving, I'm like, what's that smell? And he goes, my tequila broke. He brought it for like medicinal purposes. He says he has to take a shot so he could go to sleep at night. But that tequila smell was probably better than the buffalo sauce smell, right?
Yeah, I think the simple rule of thumb is nothing liquid.
Nothing liquid, yeah. There you go.
All right, Babe Laufenberg with us here on The Fan. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty on this Bills offense. What are you seeing from Josh Allen?
Boy, what everybody else sees. He's really, really good, extremely talented. You know, he can put the team on his back, as we've seen many times. And he's got good players around him, so it's not like he's the only thing Buffalo has. But it's funny, I always say about Josh Allen, if you just walk into the living room, right, you didn't know where the game was, what time it was, you just walk in and you see the ball get snapped and Josh Allen running around, you would say, oh, is it fourth down? There's a minute left? Are they 3 behind? It's like, no, that was the first play of the game. Because he treats every down like fourth down, right? There's just no give up in the guy. And obviously it's part of the reason why he turns it over a little bit more than most as well. But, he's counted for 35 touchdowns. He's thrown 25. He's ran for 10. I mean, Buffalo has 15 rushing touchdowns. The quarterback has 10 of them. Yeah. So no question he is a handful.
Babe, when you look at, though, the Bills and as far as their tight ends, and I kind of feel like in this game it's going to be maybe which team is able to make the simplest of plays. I'm not there for the conditions and all that, but it's not like a wet day and all that.
Yeah, they're not good.
Yeah. So I was just kind of wondering, though, I'm focusing on tight ends. As a quarterback in a game like this or in a weather conditions like this, is there a specific position that you would look at to try and get the ball to kind of manufacture offense?
Well, I think to your point, the tight end is the easiest throw for the quarterback to make. He's the closest to you. Many times that tight end is working his way back to you as a quarterback. Throws outside the numbers. We'll see what the elements end up being as the game progresses. But, they're a little more difficult to throw that comeback on the outside or the out route to the outside. So consequently, you end up with, in my mind, a lot more pass plays trying to get them between the numbers, and because of the fact that it's an easier throw. And that tight end, he's never going to be double covered. Yeah, no matter who they're going to double, they're going to leave that tight end in single coverage, right? Unless it's maybe Jason Kelsey. Travis Kelsey.
Yeah.
So I think the tight ends and the backs are going to play a bigger part in the passing game today than they might not have if you had great conditions.
Babe Laufenberg with us here on The Fan. One thing that Cowboys fans and really all of us have noticed and potentially even complained about, Babe, is the idea that Micah Parsons, I believe, is sitting at 2 holding penalties on the season. It doesn't really make sense how they're refereeing him.
Yeah, it's interesting because every good pass rusher deals with that, right? Do you think Nick Bosa isn't getting held?
Yeah.
You think T.J. Watt isn't getting held? And they better not call him too closely, because Tyler Smith, he can have about 4 a game if they want to call him tight.
Yep.
So you better be real careful when you say, hey, you guys need to start calling more holding penalties. I will tell you this, the crew that the Cowboys have today, Craig Wolstad, and they are 4th in the league in terms of calling offensive penalties. So they have been calling offensive penalties at a higher rate than some of the other crews. But, you go through it. I'll never forget, I had a conversation with Bill Parcells about what Micah Parsons is going to go through, right? And talking about Lawrence Taylor, and he said, the difficult part for those guys is the mental aspect of it. You're going to get held. You're going to get double teamed. Can you deal with that aspect of it? And in my mind, Micah just needs to keep playing football, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're so worried about not getting the holding call, now you're not as worried about getting to the quarterback. So, somebody may have pulled him aside and said, hey, Micah, not doing you any good. Let's just go out there, play football. They'll call it eventually.
Babe,
but again, the bottom line, every pass rusher goes through that.
Yeah.
Every great pass rusher is going to get held, and they're not all going to be called. It's just that simple.
No, and you're absolutely right about that. He hasn't drawn a holding call since the Chargers game. It's been that long.
That's pretty crazy.
It is pretty crazy considering how many double teams and stuff he faces throughout a game. I was going to ask you about the ability of the Bills to run the football today, and with no Jonathan Hankins, is that something, if you're Joe Brady, that you immediately test the Cowboys? Are they capable of playing run defense against you today? What plan of attack would you use if you're Buffalo?
I think just what you're saying. Buffalo runs the ball very well. James Cook, their starting back, now they divvy it up a little bit, but he's averaging almost 5 yards a carry. Josh Allen, obviously a factor in the running game, and the way to avoid mishandled balls, right, footballs, is snap it to Josh Allen, and he just runs it. And they run power with Josh Allen. I mean, he's just taking a snap, and it's almost like he's a running back. So that's a real safe way to go about your business right there with Josh Allen. And I look for him to run the football a lot. We already know that he runs it a little bit. He averages about 6-7 runs a game, but I see him up in the 10 to 12 range today.
Would you like to see Gilmore travel with Stephon Diggs?
Well, Gabe Davis can beat you on the other side, too. Gabe Davis is almost like their big play guy. He's got 39 catches, but 6 of them are for touchdowns. He's averaging over 15 a catch. But, will they travel? We'll see. And everybody says, just travel this guy with that guy. 2 things make it difficult. When that player lines up in the slot, and we'll say Gilmore goes with Stephon Diggs today. When they line up in the slot, or when you motion them, it puts your whole defense in a bind. So it's not easy as going out and playing 7-on-7 and saying, hey, you just go cover this guy. There's a lot of elements that go into that. And obviously they've moved Gilmore around a little bit the last couple of games. So would I see them doing that again today? I think so. But you can get in trouble if you do it too much.
Babe, Mike McCarthy does have a history of play calling in poor conditions. And the temperature's not bad for football. It's the wet and all that. But is that an advantage, or is that something that it doesn't matter? But I kind of feel like that he has an understanding of how to kind of move the ball when the elements aren't ideal for his team.
Yeah, you would think that, right? And I would, the more experience you have at anything, right, the better you probably become at it. So he's seen, this doesn't work in these conditions. We'll shelf this, we'll shelf that. Interestingly enough, the shotgun is easier to put your quarterback in bad weather, like if there's rain throughout. Okay, we're just going to assume there's going to be rain. Shotgun, you have fewer fumbled snaps in shotgun than you do when you have your quarterback under center.
Sure.
It's almost counterintuitive. You think, now it's got 5 yards, ball's got to travel back, but there's a margin for error there that quarterback can grab that football. There's no margin for error when that ball comes up wet or a little short or slips out of the center's hand in that under center snap. So it'll be interesting to see, how much they employ that.
Babe, we were talking about Ferguson earlier, and I'm wondering, have we gotten to the point now where outside of CeeDee Lamb, Ferguson should be basically the second most targeted dude in this passing game?
Well, again, as we discussed a little earlier there, he's never going to get double covered, right? You're never going to double cover the tight end. So and it's the shortest throw for the quarterback. You're not throwing the ball outside of the numbers for the most part to that tight end. But he's certainly reliable. And again, your reads really do. I know it sounds like, coach speak or whatever you want to call it, but the reads take you where you need to throw the football. So you can't really go in and say, okay, CD, we'll look to him first, then we'll look to Ferguson second. But certainly you're comfortable, right, putting him into the game plan and throwing to him. As the Bills are with their guy, Dalton Kincaid, their rookie, who's really just coming on. Interestingly enough, Cowboys had that 26th pick in the draft. They ended up taking Mafia Smith, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Buffalo had the 27th. They traded up 2 spots with Jacksonville to get to 25 because they were afraid the Cowboys,
Kincaid,
with Dalton Schultz gone, were going to take Dalton Kincaid at 26.
Yeah.
So I love just the little game within the game and all these teams you play.
That's right. And now now the guy we drafted, Mozzie Smith, he's going to have his hands full today. Might need you a little bit today, Mozzie.
Yeah. Here we go. And what are we, 14 games into it? You put the big boy pants on and let's go.
Big boy pants Sunday for Mozzie Smith, babe. We appreciate the time as always, brother. Stay dry and enjoy the game.
Okay, thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. There he goes, Babe Laufenberg. Cowboys fans, Whataburger is rewarding you for helping our local communities. From now to December 18th, stop by your hometown Whataburger to donate $1 to the Salvation Army and receive a Whataburger burger with the purchase of a medium fry and 32-ounce drink. Whataburger always getting it done. Mike in Caddo Mills always getting it done. He checked in here, Broaddus 469. He says, Miller Lite, of course, doing pot stickers, stuffed sausage wrapped in bacon, and pierogies.
There you go. You ever had a pierogi?
I don't think so.
Meat pie.
Oh, I'm in, dude. 2 of my favorite things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Mike, you're a beast.
Yep.
As always. And so is Bobby Bell. Big game, Bob. I would say today is a big game. Cowboys and Bills. Let's break it down as we go inside the Star. Under 2 hours to kick off next right here on The Fan. We're about 90 minutes to kick off here in your home of the Cowboys. Cowboys-Bills. This a biggin. Welcome in, Big Game Bob. Bobby Belt, we go inside the star. He loves him some Dak Prescott, but does he love him some Dak Prescott in the weather? That's the question. Bob, it's your turn.
What's the weather? I mean, it's all weather, Eric. So sunny is weather, rain is weather. Specifically rain, no, I don't love Dak Prescott in the rain.
What about wind?
Wind, I mean, I guess it just depends. I didn't do a deep dive on wind. Typically in the past, this is something that he's broken in recent years. Typically in the past, cold weather was a bad one for him. Like he had a lot of, I think there was a time where 8 of his 10 worst games, passer rating performance-wise, were games that were either in the 40s or lower. And so he typically has struggled a little bit in cold weather, but the last 2 years, I think he's kind of undone that. He's had some good performances. But I was curious, like, how many games has he actually played in the rain? And I wanted to go back and look at some stuff while I was sitting here waiting to jump on with you guys.
And this is your unofficial science.
I mean,
I'd call it official because he looked all these up.
Yeah, I mean, I looked them up. It was raining in those games. And so that's what the forecast says anyway. You got to take it up with the National Weather Service. They're the ones who have the rain numbers there. But he's played 3 games in the rain, like while it's been raining during the game.
Career.
His entire NFL career. He's had some games where it rained leading up to it or some different things, but actually playing in the rain where it rained during the game, he's only played 3 games. It's a small sample size, but he is 46 of 79. That's 58% completions, 498 yards. That's 6.3 yards per attempt. No touchdowns, 1 interception, 71.6 passer rating. So not the best numbers. The most recent one was against the Giants in week 1 where they did win 40-0, but there was a defensive touchdown there, a special teams touchdown. You know, the offense struggled in the red zone that game. He went 13 of 24 for 143 yards, so he didn't play great. But just something to note as he's getting ready to play this. He may completely undo it. It's a completely different type of ball game, but at least interesting to note.
I do think this is a really good leveling up opportunity and really the last one of the regular season for the Cowboys. Like in my mind, they're right on the doorstep of feeling like they could they can beat anybody other than San Francisco right now. That question will loom until you get the revenge opportunity, hopefully in the playoffs. But going into Buffalo, inclement weather, good team, desperate team, quarterback that runs the ball, no Hankins. Like I think this is a huge opportunity here, and I'm not necessarily expecting them to win this game. I have in the previous 5 or 6. They're on a run right now. I don't expect them to win this game. If they do, I'm like, geez, they can beat literally anybody anywhere except for San Francisco. I got to see that to believe it.
Yeah, this would be, to me, the best win they've had this season. And would likely be the best win moving forward. Like I mean, they could go in there and beat Miami next week. I don't think that says as much as this does.
Agreed.
Beating Detroit, I don't think that says as much as this does. The only other game that could have been as big of a statement probably was San Francisco. That was definitely the biggest statement they could have made. Maybe Philly on the road, but I mean, you've always known you can compete with Philly. This is a different question. This is inclement weather. This is a desperate team that's one of the more talented teams in the NFL. They are top 5 in both points allowed and points scored, and somehow they're 7-6. But they are a really tough barometer, I think, for where the Cowboys are at. And this would be the one that I think if you can hang with them today or you can win this game on the road, I think this is the biggest statement you could have that says, okay, this is our greatest piece of evidence that things are different from week 5 and we might be able to hang with San Francisco if we get them again.
I'm buying the offense today. You know, I mean, I think there's something about this Cowboys offense, and I know it's something to do with, you know, what they're going to do with conditions today. I think the quarterback's playing at such a high level. And you got a play caller, and I, you know, trust me, I've been super critical of Mike McCarthy, but as a play caller, they figured some things out. I love the combinations of routes. I think they're going to put a lot of pressure on Buffalo, Bobby, to have to play some defense today. I don't think this is just, oh, let's go in a shell and hand the ball off, 28 times and hope for the best and hope the defense holds up. I could see them come out and attack in Buffalo here.
I would be surprised. I mean, I know that's I totally buy that it's a possibility. I would just be surprised if that's the way they went, because I think Buffalo has shown, especially the last couple weeks when they've been in some of these big games, they go, you're not going to beat us over the top to passing attacks. That they say, we're going to play our zone coverage. We're going to play things off. Sean McDermott is very conservative. I kind of wonder if what you're going to end up seeing is similar to what, not stylistically wise, but what will be available to Dak will be similar to what he saw against Carolina, where Carolina was just like everything out in front. And he's like, all right, I guess I'll just kind of, pick things apart underneath and we'll just kind of methodically move our way down the field. I don't know with rain already and them playing conservative, I don't know how much they can do it. But the level that he's played at, especially given what sounds like or what looks like when you watch tape, some susceptibility for tight ends up the seam and doing some different things like that. If you want to attack that and soften things up and open things up a little bit more, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I definitely think that this is going to be a test, and one that if they were able to do that today, like you're talking about, if they were able to have success doing that, Dak vaults everybody, and he is clear-cut number one to me MVP candidate if that happens.
Last week the big story was talking about Terrence Steele. Do you have any concerns about Terrence Steele this week?
So Von Miller's played a lot better in recent weeks. He's had kind of a bad year, but he's somebody who looks like he's getting off the ball a lot better. I kind of just have some concerns about how that might challenge his ability to get off the ball, the snap, how that might challenge Terrence Steele and send him backpedaling. There's definitely some concerns with them as pass rushers, but they're very aggressive on that defensive line rushing. And one of the ways that Steele has had success before with guys has been, because he's not the most powerful guy, is that when he does get some of those ultra aggressive pass rushers, he just kind of escorts him up the field and kind of lets him go upfield. And so if he's able to do some of that, it might set it better for him than, you know, a guy like if Rousseau's across from him. Rousseau can play with a lot of power. If Rousseau hits him in the chest, he can drive him back. That might be problematic. But a guy like Von Miller or one of these, you know, speed rushers, Leonard Floyd, if he gets across from them, maybe he just takes that opportunity to just, all right, let me just kind of escort you up the field and get you out of the way.
All right, let's pause 10 seconds here for station identification on your home of the Cowboys, 105.3 The Fan.
Your turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan.
Go low, baby.
KRLD FM and HD1, Dallas Fort Worth.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
All right, here we go. Bobby Belt with us here as we go inside the Star, brought to you by Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. It is Miller time. Now, how are you, Dan Quinn, going to approach this offense from Buffalo? Lots to handle. Running quarterback, the backs get involved in the passing game, the tight ends, Stephon Diggs. Are you traveling Gilmore? Are you spying Allen? How do you approach it?
So I think that a big thing for them this week, we've talked about it before, there are certain guys where it's like, you know, oh, get him off his spot, make him uncomfortable, make him move, make him, you know, get outside the pocket, do different things. That was one of the things I always talked about with Brady, was like, don't let Brady just be comfortable sliding up and down inside the pocket. Like, make him move. That's not the case with Josh Allen. Like, you don't want him to start breaking the pocket. That's where you see him extend plays, get outside, and then gash you for 40 yards down the field. I think Next Gen Stats had a number, it was last week, that Josh Allen over the last 2 seasons, I think it is, has 5 completions within a yard of the sideline. So he is within a yard of the sideline, and he's completed 5 passes that way. The rest of the NFL during that time has 1. So Josh Allen is uniquely difficult to defend when he starts getting outside, and he's physical. He'll run and not look to slide. He will look to, you know, bowl you over. He wants to cause problems for the defense with his size and his physicality. And so to me, I think a big part of it is just keeping him contained to the pocket, make him uncomfortable in the pocket, and make him feel a little like, okay, you know, at times that you see he gets a little jittery. And if he's stuck in there and confined, he just seems to get a little antsy, a little claustrophobic. I think that's the way that you probably look to attack that. I don't know that I feel a big need to travel today for Diggs. I think that they can, in all likelihood, with the guys that they have right now, kind of handle that receiving core. I'm not as concerned with those receivers as I thought I was going to be when I watched it on tape. I think Diggs is still really good. I think Gabe Davis is good. Dallas plays a lot of man, too. Gabe Davis has struggled against man from what I saw. And so I think that you can kind of play things straight up however you want. The bigger question to me is, how are you going to handle the tight ends, Kincaid and Knox, and how are you going to handle James Cook and what he does out of the backfield and lining up as a receiver?
Well, I was going to ask you, though, are your concern level of Dallas run defense today?
I mean, without Hankins, it's statistically, if you look from the time at the beginning of last year before Hankins got here to then since Hankins has gotten here and the games he's missed, when you look at the run defense with him in the lineup versus out of it, it is not good. It's historically been like a yard and a half difference, yards per attempt when he's out of the game. And he does a lot, I think, to help keep guys clean and help linebackers make plays and do what he's doing. And he's giving you some stuff in the pass rush, too, this year that I think has been a little bit unexpected. But I think with Hankins being out, that's definitely a concern. I love watching James Cook play. Like he is such
I worry about that today.
He has such a good feel. He is such an instinctive runner. He's quick. He's decisive. if you're going to guess wrong, he's going to make you pay. And that's been a problem for the Cowboys on run defense the last couple of years. If there's one thing Dan Quinn has not been able to totally fix, there's been a lot that he's repaired from when Mike Nolan was here and previous regimes. There's one thing he's not been able to fix. It's that consistently this linebacker core since he's been here, they have problems with their reads and they guess wrong. And they sometimes are a little bit too, aggressive and overcommit and leave cutback lanes, and it causes problems. And James Cook is definitely the type of guy that if you're going to leave him a cutback lane, he'll hit it and he'll get you for another 10 yards. And so I do have some concerns about how they're going to try and contain him.
Bobby Belt with us here on the Fan. Offensively for Dallas, I've been asking the question, are we at the point now where after CeeDee Lamb, the passing game needs to be Jason Ferguson as your second most targeted individual?
I mean, I don't know about Jason Ferguson. I might take Jake Ferguson.
Jake Ferguson.
That might be the direction I go, Cheech. Honestly, what it is,
you'd have a scoop if it was Jason Ferguson.
Jason Ferguson, wasn't he a nose tackle?
Yeah,
like
he was for the Jets. Yeah.
Well, and the Cowboys.
Bill Parcells brought him in here at 05. I think that one didn't work out as good as I think you guys had hoped it would, Brian. But
those were the times where me and Parcells did not see eye to eye.
You don't think the Cowboys could use a Jason Ferguson today in the middle of that D line?
I think
maybe not.
I'll tell you
what. Pushed around a little bit.
He got pushed around by the time he got here. Yeah. I would take Jake Ferguson for sure.
Yes.
I don't know that. I think that naturally what it's fallen into is he's your second best option right now. But I mean, I think that it's because Cooks is unique. I mean, the things that Cooks can do really challenge defenses and take a lot of attention away and do some things that his impact is felt, I think, outside of just when you're targeting him. And so I think that I wouldn't say let me just force feed Ferguson, but if it's there and what he provides, then yeah, he becomes a natural number 2. But I mean, if Cooks is there, if Cooks is getting open, I want him to get the ball downfield and I want to take advantage of his speed. But I mean, Jake Ferguson has essentially settled into this role now as their guy. He's averaging, I think, 7-8 targets a game over the last 8 weeks or so. And so he's definitely settled into a spot where he's a big time contributor for them. And he's really become an emotional center for them, that he is one of their edgier, chippier players.
Yes. Yeah, he brings that element of toughness to the offense. That's huge. I think a guy like Donovan Wilson brings that defensively, and Jake Ferguson for sure brings the attitude offensively. All right, well, what are you thinking prediction-wise for this one? I feel like if this was at AT&T Stadium, we're talking about a fireworks show of 40 to 35 or something with the weather and whatnot. How do you see it playing out?
Yeah, I think I would pick Dallas if this was an AT&T Stadium.
Me too.
Because it's on the road, and this is not some pushover team. I think it's easy for a lot of people to go, well, they're like Greg Olsen was saying to you guys earlier, the old Bill Parcells line, if they are what their record says they are, that's not them. And everybody has said that this week. Mike McCarthy said it. He's like, that's not a 7-6 football team when you watch them. They're better.
I kind of said that early to open the show.
That they're not, that they're better than that, or
I think they're a good team, but man, they've lost some games. That they've had some bad losses along the way. This might be who they are. Maybe
details matter for sure.
Maybe getting rid of Ken Dorsey was the right thing.
Details late in games absolutely matter for sure. But I think that I would take, if you're telling me in terms of quality of team, not what position I'd rather be in the standings or anything else, but just tell me the quality of the team. Do I think that Buffalo through 13 games is a better football team than Philly through 13 games? Absolutely. And Philadelphia wins those little details. Buffalo doesn't. In a close game, am I going to pick Buffalo over Philly? Maybe not, because Philly just doesn't seem to make mistakes late. They just seem to be on task, on point.
Philly already beat Buffalo.
I would think that I'm going to take Buffalo in this one close, 24-21. I would not be surprised if Dallas won this. This has been the hardest game for me to pick this year.
Don't hedge it. You want Buffalo.
No, I'm picking Buffalo. I am. I'm just saying this has been the hardest game for me to pick this year, is that it really felt like a coin flip, but ultimately, I'm going to lean Buffalo. If Dallas is able to get this one, it's a massive victory, probably the best one they've had this season.
Where are you watching the game?
I'm going to be at Underdogs in Flower Mound, hanging out with, I think Will Chambers is going to come out there. We're going to hang out for the game there. And Brian, if I don't have too many lemonades, too many lemonades, as Jason Garrett said, then we'll record the Star. But if I have too many lemonades, then maybe we'll definitely record one. That might be fun.
Go enjoy your lemonades. We love you.
I love you all.
There he goes, Cowboys insider Bobby Belt here as we keep getting you closer and closer to a Cowboy kickoff. Christy Scales, the best sideline reporter in the business, live from Orchard Park, New York. Let's get the inactives and all your need-to-know information as we approach a Cowboy kickoff next right here on The Fan.
Dallas, the jackpots for Mega Millions.
Trayvon Diggs showed up to Highmark Stadium in Buffalo with brother Stephon Diggs and his son Aiden Diggs. They all pulled up together. So maybe it was a little sleepover at Uncle Stephon's house last night in Buffalo, and they made their way over to the stadium a couple hours ago all together. Family affair for sure, but it is a bummer. That was the big storyline when the schedule got released. The anticipation of the matchup between the two brothers. You see it from time to time, but rarely do you see it where it's like actual one-on-one matchups where we would have gotten Stephon Diggs versus Trayvon Diggs. That would have been really, really cool. Not going to see it today, but cool to see them show up to the stadium together here. Now, we're just over an hour to kickoff. I'm seeing Malik Hooker Broaddus. He was dealing with an ankle injury this week, and it looks like he's going to be inactive. Does that surprise you?
Yeah, it really, really does, because I checked on him on Thursday, and the report that I got Thursday morning was that he was going to be available. So I'm circling back right now, and maybe there was some type of a setback, or it just didn't heal the right way. But as of Thursday, they were absolutely expecting him to play.
Okay, so what do you feel like that means? Is that more Wanye Thomas, more Mukwamu? What?
I think that would be more Wanye Thomas. There is what you're probably going to get. You probably were looking at something where you want to put somebody in that hooker role that has the ability to cover, that plays with some range. And so that's going to be Wanye Thomas. He does that better than the other corners when it comes to, or the other safeties when it comes to him playing with his eyes, being able to help if he has to on some bracket stuff, and then also things that he might have to do in some single coverage stuff against one of these tight ends.
Yeah, I'm curious, like after Stephon Diggs, I think he's certainly the biggest name, and I think he's still the biggest threat in the passing game. But how do you expect Dan Quinn to travel Gilmore like he's done since the second half of that Seattle game with DK Metcalf? And then it seemed like pretty much all of last week's game versus A.J. Brown and the Eagles, Gilmore was traveling.
Yeah, I think that it's almost like the thing when you start to talk about spy. How much are you willing to do it in a game? How much are you willing to? Do you want to do it every snap? Do you want to do it part of the time? I think there has to be a mix in this. I don't think you want to give Joe Brady and this Buffalo coaching staff an idea that every snap you're traveling with this guy, because they'll figure out ways to get around that. Mm-hmm. So what I think you have to be mindful of if you're Dan Quinn is show it to him every once in a while. Kind of pick and choose, when you're going to travel with him. And that way you're able to use it as an element of surprise. Maybe you don't travel with him the whole game. Then all of a sudden it's like a 3rd and 7 and boom, you walk him over there and all of a sudden.
Big moment.
Big moment. I think every really good defensive coordinator has 1 or 2 defenses that they hold at the end of a game in order to get off the field. And I think Dan's probably got a couple of those, and it probably involves some coverage with Diggs.
And you mentioned the spy factor on Josh Allen. Is that, do you expect to see some of that? Like who would be the ideal candidate to be that guy?
I think Bell is the ideal guy.
I do too, but in coverage he's so important. It's a bummer.
No, he's absolutely important. But what he also gives you though is you do not want to put somebody, the reason you spy is you want to take that guy, that quarterback, or that particular player out of the game. And, if you put somebody in there that doesn't tackle well in space, and that's the problem when you're dealing with Josh Allen. He's a stiff arm away from running 20-something yards with the ball.
Yeah, bringing him down is no joke.
Yeah, you've got to find a guy that's a really good open field tackler and make that work.
Well, and I think Marquise Bell is absolutely that. I think that's why it's a really interesting challenge that the Bills present offensively because of all the different ways that they can sort of stress you, and most of it leads back to like their quarterback can take off on you at any moment.
Any moment.
And it's the design runs with Josh Allen as well, right? It's not just that he'll take off on a scramble.
Quarterback powers, yeah. They, after seeing Philadelphia last week and the success that they had with the quarterback draw, I wouldn't be surprised at all if you get some 3rd down situations where it's 3rd and 6, 3rd and 5, and they just straight quarterback draw that thing, get you an empty formation, and then take off running that way.
Well, one of the things that you love about Josh Allen when you're defending him is the turnover factor. I mean, I wonder what the props are for him in this game versus a Cowboys defense that is very accustomed to taking the ball away, especially over these last few years here with Dan Quinn. You saw it just last week, 3 takeaways versus the Eagles. I wonder what they have the Josh Allen turnover prop on today, because I would guess it could be as high as 2.5. I would guess maybe at least 1.5, but 17 turnovers, 14 interceptions, and 3 lost fumbles. So, and some people brought us liken him to a guy like Brett Favre, who you spent a lot of time with when you were with the Packers winning Super Bowls.
No, absolutely. That's a very similar kind of a rough and tumble player, a guy that really, the word gunslinger gets thrown around a lot. Really, he's going to turn the ball over, but, the next play, he's going to make a great play. And I think that's kind of what Buffalo's, that's their understanding. At times it hurts them, but there's also that play that they're going to make that is just incredible, that it changes the game.
All right, it's big, it's good, and it's only for Cowboys fans. The Cowboys Special from Papa John's, a large one-topping pizza for only $9.99. Order today. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's, the official pizza of the Dallas Cowboys. Now, one of your assignments whenever you were a scout in the NFL was scouting out the referee crew ahead of each week for the team. And so you bring us that perspective here. What do we need to know on today's Zebra report?
Yeah, on the Zebra report today, of the 17 officials, Craig Wolstead is the 13th rated when it comes to number of calls made. So he's near the bottom when it comes to calls that he is going to make. It's also, you need to know too, that the Dallas Cowboys are 9-0 with him as being the lead official. So with Wolstead, you're going to get, actually, he's called more home penalties than he has called visitor penalties. So that also could be something you need to kind of keep an eye on as well. The numbers that you're going to get from him as far as the penalties that you're going to get. We're going to pull this up here real quick and just give you an idea of the various calls that he makes, him and his crew make in making these games. I will say this though about him. I know that when you look at how he calls games, like he very much so I always remember him as being a guy that lets you play. And so you're going to get big on offensive holding. You're going to get big on defensive pass interference, and you're also going to get roughing the passers involved, and then also delay of the game. And so, and I always bring up the delay of the game one, because when you're playing in a road environment, and you're trying to get plays off, and all of a sudden maybe plays don't get in quick enough, crowd noise and all those things. How closely are these officials calling these delay of game penalties,
especially late in the game, man?
Late in the game,
when it's crunch time, everybody's flying around, 2-minute drills.
Yeah. So, when you look at, like I say, the most penalized positions, the offensive line are heavy here. Defensive backs would be the next, and then the defensive line would be the next after that. So he's all about, like I say, he's going to call trench penalties, but then also you're going to get the pass interference penalties as well from the defensive backs and defensive holdings. But be mindful of the delay game penalties here, especially on the road here.
Okay, very good. I did see the Cowboys and the Bills are top 5 most penalized teams in the league. So hopefully it's not a huge ref show today, but I guess there is potential.
Yeah, he's had 4 games of the 12 games that he's officiated this year. He's had 4 of those games have gone for single-digit penalties.
Okay,
so that's what I was talking about.
Good.
Yeah, so that sometimes plays pretty well for you.
Okay, now I want to take a deeper dive on this Bills defense, and because I know the Cowboys are going to have some really, really good opportunities, not only in the passing game but also on the ground. So where are we seeing some weaknesses here? I know they like to rush 4. If they blitz you, they're blitzing you from like the slot guy. But you can run on these dudes, can't you?
Yeah, you can run on these. If I could real quick, I got a text actually from the stadium there, from the locker room. I asked a question about Hooker and the thought about him playing, and his ankle just didn't respond. how they were hopeful that it would for him to be able to play today. They thought he would be available, and they thought the ankle would respond in a way that he could play. But the reason why he's inactive today is it just didn't respond like they thought it would. So that's why you have the inactive. Okay. You're talking about the blitzing element.
Well, just the Bills defense. I think you can run on them. I know that they like Ferguson up the seam, Lamb in the seam is going to be good opportunities there. I'm just trying to figure out Cowboys offense path to victory.
Yeah, I think Cowboys path to victory today is, and I could say, okay, run the football and find ways to manufacture that. I don't know necessarily if that's. I think they'll be able to run the ball. But I still think they're going to have to throw. I think that the Cowboys are one of the best teams in the league when it comes to throwing. I just don't see the elements. They will. I think that with Mike McCarthy, he will adjust his game plan as the elements dictate, and that's where I think you have a little bit of an advantage right there because I think he understands about play calling. Now, your quarterback doesn't have a whole lot of experience playing in bad, cold weather, wet games. Mm-hmm. He has, like Bobby did the study through his career. There were 3 games he's dealt with. I know people are tweeting at Bobby, at Mississippi State, he had a bad weather game and against Missouri and all that. But, okay, we're talking about the NFL right now. Mm-hmm. But, I think that Dak, when Greg Olsen said it the best, Dak has that ability to drive the football in bad conditions. Big, sturdy guy. So I kind of feel like the Cowboys offense, I just don't think it'll just completely get shut down. It could get shut down because the Buffalo Bills shut it down, but I kind of feel like that Dallas will be able to move the ball today, and I think they'll be able to do it with their passing game.
Yeah, well, I mean, would you be interested in seeing, like, we know Josh Allen is going to be a guy that's going to want to run, plenty. He's not going to be shy about the fact that he's going to take off and run on you. They're sort of in must-win territory with the way their season's played out. Dak, I feel like, yes or no, Dak running a little bit more today to combat
much
that.
more. Yeah, I said this earlier. I really do believe that you're in a situation right now with all these quarterbacks, and you're trying to fight your way to winning divisions and getting into playoffs and the seeding and all that. As a quarterback, you have to do whatever you have to do to win these football games. And if you have to run the ball for 48 yards today to help your team win, by all means, go.
All right, it's the official pregame show of America's team on a Cowboy game day. Cowboys at Highmark Stadium taking on these Buffalo Bills. Let's get you set for kickoff as we approach 60 minutes to kick. We'll hear from Mike McCarthy, Jerry Jones, and much more coming up next right here on The Fan.
Here's Eric Chiofalo and Bryan Broaddus.
What an opportunity for these Dallas Cowboys. Welcome into the Dallas Cowboys radio network on a Cowboy game day. Cowboys and Bills. We're under 60 minutes to kick off. This is a huge opportunity to level up on the road versus a quality opponent. Broaddus, you, sir, a Super Bowl champion. How do you see this Bills team defensively? And as we preview this matchup, brought to you by Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys, what is the Cowboys' path to victory offensively?
Yeah, I think that when you look at it, it really starts with Buffalo on defense of their front four. And you're going to have to be able to deal with that. They're small at linebacker. They've done a better job of some of the stuff that they've done in the secondary with coverage-wise. They play a ton of zone. Don't know how much man coverage they want to play today. They're a little banged up at safety, and that's been a problem for them. So up the middle of this defense is an area that you want to be able to attack. We'll see what they do with Ferguson. We'll see what they do with Cooks. They'll see what we do with running the football, because people have been able to get bodies up on these linebackers because this front four wants to get up the field. So if you get them up the field and then able to pop a run, we've seen Pollard look a little bit quicker to and through the hole.
Yep, breaking tackles.
Yeah, that's, you're going to need a little bit of that today. I don't think it's 2 yards and a cloud of dust offense. Maybe a little bit more on the perimeter, maybe a little bit more on the edge, but try and find a way to get bodies up on these smaller linebackers.
Yeah, and the Cowboys activated Malik Davis off the practice squad today, so they add another guy who can run between the tackles there offensively after Pollard and Dowdle. Maybe you get a little Malik Davis here. Malik Hooker been ruled out with the I think he was dealing with a little bit of an illness. We know about the ankle as well.
Yeah, the ankle was a problem. It just didn't respond. That was what I was told. They felt like that he would be able to play on Thursday, and that he just needed some rest to try and rehab. But I was told just probably 15 minutes ago that I said, "Hey, is there a setback on this ankle?" And they're like, "No, it just did not respond like they thought it would for him to be able to play today."
So that's going to mean more Wanye Thomas, maybe some more Izzy McQuamu, but there will be no Malik Hooker on the defensive side of the ball for the Cowboys. The other big one, of course, is Jonathan Hankins. We knew about that one, the big man in the middle of that defense. We'll see how much of a factor that is versus this Bills offense. And as we go inside the numbers here, brought to you by Papa John's, the official pizza of the Dallas Cowboys. Better ingredients, better pizza. It is Papa John's. You can't help but look at the turnovers. 17 turnovers for Josh Allen by himself this year, 14 interceptions, 3 lost fumbles. How do you approach attacking him today?
Yeah, you have to be really mindful about him in the pocket because he is going to move all over. There's times where I felt like that even the the blockers were set, everything was fine, and then he just felt like he needed to move to get out of it. So there's going to be a lot of running around and movement in the pocket today. You just have to be mindful of him taking off and running too. That's something he will do, and he's not interested in sliding. He will try and run over. So you have to be, if it's going to be a contested play at the sticks, you have to assume that he is going to put his shoulder down and try and run over you. So be mindful of that very much.
What about the rushing attack with James Cook and company?
Yeah, James Cook. And with Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator, he's done a really nice job of getting these running backs more involved in the game plan. And Cooks, you see combination routes with him. You see him on the wheel route, the Texas route. That's that angle route inside. They're going to throw him the football. I would anticipate, that you're going to probably see some screen stuff, some things to try and control Dallas's rush a little bit. So if Cook is out wide, I'd anticipate him getting the football. He's a really good receiver out in space.
Under 60 minutes to kick off Cowboys and Bills. Let's hear from head coach Mike McCarthy for today's Coach's Corner. Coming up next, you're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Every moment, every touchdown, every
Dallas Cowboys.
How about this, man? Cowboys only team in the league that has scored on over half of their possessions this year. We'll see if Mike McCarthy and company can keep it going today in Buffalo versus these Bills. Rain, wind, we'll see how they handle it. And he right now, 45 minutes to kick off, standing by with the best sideline reporter in the business, Christy Scales.
All right, and as we get closer to kickoff here in Buffalo, Mike, I want to ask you about a couple of the young defenders who are going to get extra playing time tonight in place of injured veterans. And let's start off with Wanye Thomas. This is his second career start. He had a great one in the season opener in New York, but with Malik Hooker out with that ankle injury, what do we expect from Wanye today?
Well, I mean, we expect Wanye to step in and play, up to his standard. I mean, he's played good football for us all year, so on the different packages that he's been on. So it's unfortunate with Malik, and he just wasn't ready to go. But we have great faith in Wanye.
And Mozzie Smith making his first career start at defensive tackle. How beneficial was it, I guess, with Hankins out with that ankle injury? He's had the first team reps, I assume, all week?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's just like anything for a young player. Those reps are so important. And also, with Hank, we've been resting Hank on Wednesday. So Mozzie has been getting a lot of the work during the course of the week, and he's ready to go.
And with Josh Allen going against this really talented quarterback and a lot of weapons in this Buffalo offense, very high praise earlier this week when you compared him to a young Brett Favre. What is it that stands out so much for Josh and what you appreciate about his game?
Well, I just, I think the obvious is the talent, but I just appreciate the urgency and the aggressiveness that he plays. He's always attacking, maximizes every play. So this will be an excellent challenge for us.
And they added Dalton Kincaid, tight end, first round. I know that you guys had looked very closely at tight ends and, of course, had added Luke Schoonmaker. But what dynamic has he brought to this offense?
Kincaid, I tell you, excellent hands, and we can see the production in the pass game, and has become one of the favorite targets for Josh with the football. I think it's like any good offense, the ability to spread it around, and he's come in and has fit in very well with this offense.
Mike, I think we're catching a little bit of a break here in Buffalo in that it's not too windy, but the rain is it's been pretty nasty out there the past couple hours of pregame. How does it affect not just your offensive play calling, but the way that you have to manage the game?
Well, it's all about the football field position. Those are the priorities. And I think when, the decisions and the situational phases will be part of that, obviously, but it's all about the football. We got to take care of the football. We got to take it away.
One last question, and that's the atmosphere in Buffalo. It's similar to Green Bay in a way. You come through the neighborhoods and people are tailgating and parking in yards. And is this one of those places, kind of like Green Bay or maybe Pittsburgh, your hometown, where the team takes on the identity of the community?
I would say so. And actually in the team meeting last night, I told our team to enjoy this experience. A lot of guys haven't played here before, and it is unique. And and it starts with the fan base. I mean, the ride in. I'm laughing because a number of the guys, when they walked in the locker room, got to see a few things on the bus ride in that they don't see every day. So
well, I was on bus 3. It did not get egged, and we didn't see any full moons. But maybe bus 1, you guys saw a little more.
Bus 1 has a much better view than you had. I'll just say that. But it was good. It's a great atmosphere. We're excited to be here and compete.
Appreciate it. That's head coach McCarthy. And as we continue counting down to kickoff, we will rejoin Brian and Eric.
Thank you so much, Christy. How about that, Bills Mafia? A little gamesmanship there. Can't be surprised. You kind of like that. Get the blood flowing a little bit before the game. You've been egged before.
Have
in Philadelphia, right?
Have the funny one is always when you get the fan base, the ladies and stuff like that are flipping you off. I mean, that happens a lot.
Not very ladylike.
Not very ladylike, and that happened a lot in Washington. It happened a lot in New York. Philly, you just expect it.
You know it. Kids, women.
Kids. Yeah, you just expect it.
Doesn't matter.
But I'll tell you what, the Bills Mafia, though, they seem pretty they seem like maybe a fun group to kind of tailgate with. Like with the alcohol consumption.
Wild
the food.
Animals.
Yeah.
Jumping into tables that
I don't
are lit
think
on
I would.
fire.
I don't think I'd do the table fall.
You don't think you would?
I don't think I'd do the table dive.
That's not strong enough for me. I know for a fact you will never catch me jumping through a
fiery table.
Yeah.
Might be a bet payoff is what we might need to do with all the losses we're about to take.
Yeah, well, we're definitely going to be – I know me and Gavin Dawson will be having some payoff situations going down because the Atlanta Falcons are pooping the bed with the division on the line. They're going to lose to a one-win football team today. So that's how my day's going currently. What do you think about Micah Parsons and how Dan Quinn sort of deploys him today?
Yeah, I think that with Micah, you continue to do the thing. I always love Micah in the middle of the defense because I feel like that these centers that you've seen have – it's difficult to handle a guy that after you snap the ball and then set and deal with the power that Micah Parsons has, his ability to drive you back in to the quarterback. That's really the shortest path too. With him off the edge, it takes a little bit longer, but when you run him right through the middle of that defense, he is going to cause some problems. So I would not think that they wouldn't try and get, Connor McGovern backing up a little bit here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Run over the top of him and see what happens there.
All right, under 40 minutes to kick off. Cowboys-Bills. Let's get to know the enemy, and we'll go live to the owner's box with Jerry Jones. All coming up next. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com.
Here's Eric Chiofalo and Bryan Broaddus.
All right, we're under 35 minutes to kickoff. Let's get you to Highmark Stadium. Into the owner's box we go with Christy Scales and the Hall of Famer, Jerry Jones.
And Jerry, so happy to talk to you in the owner's box today because this is such a unique situation in terms of coming through the neighborhoods in Buffalo. And it seems like this is one of those places where the team really takes on the identity of the city. We don't get to come here often, but what do you enjoy about Buffalo?
Well, just that. And of course, this time of year, it is particularly can get interesting weather-wise because so often it's snow. It won't be today, but we've certainly got the elements. And all of that creates atmosphere, if you want to look at it that way. Of course, if you're me and you're the Cowboys fans I'm talking to, you're worried about that wet ball. You're worried about Dak, about that wet ball, what it does to our kicking, all of that. Of course, you can say it does it to them too, but it's certainly the front of my mind of the weather conditions.
When we come back here in 8 years, it'll be a new football stadium because the Pegula family that took over the Bills a few years ago. I anticipate that there's a lot of excitement at the ownership level for what they've done in this franchise and opening a new stadium.
Well, there is, but our legends that we have is doing so much of the work on this stadium. We'll do all the marketing, doing all the marketing of the seats and the suites and the sponsorships, and so we've gotten to be, the Pegula family is just outstanding, and I mean outstanding, and they're a credit to the NFL. They've made a big commitment to this state and this part of the country, and they will have made a big commitment here, but we're going to get to have this great tradition and part of the NFL called Buffalo as a part of the NFL for a long time to come.
And one of the things that the NFL owners meetings this past week in Dallas is spreading that tradition of the NFL internationally. So going back to Germany next year and then Brazil, do we need to start studying Portuguese? What are the chances that the Brasileiros Cowboys may get to go down there?
Well, I think that's something to know that's there. I agree with our taking advantage of the interest that's in NFL football in Brazil. Our focus is Mexico, of course, when we start thinking about leaving the bounds of the United States. And it's because we have such a great following and a great fan base for Vaqueros to Dallas. We have that not only in Texas but all over. And I think that I ride with, and I've seen many stats on it, but over 50% of Hispanic fans, especially from Mexican heritage in the United States, are Vaqueros de Dallas fans, Cowboy fans. And so it is a great feeling if you're going to play a game other than AT&T to go to Mexico, because you know it touches a lot of our natural fan base.
One last question for you, and it's specifically about today on the Cowboys defensive line. What is your excitement level in seeing your first-round draft pick, rookie defensive tackle Mazi Smith, make his first NFL start?
Very good. He will probably bring his game up. It's expected to come up because he's going to have more snaps. And he's had now a lot of time in the NFL to get ready for this opportunity. It'll be a great opportunity. If we've ever need this strength, which is his attribute, we're going to need it out here today. And we're going to, of course, coming in here a little bit wounded with a few guys with a little sick. I think Hooker's going to be down. So some of that is going to give us some things to think about. So, Mazi, get your work face on. We need you.
We appreciate it. Thanks so much. That's the view from the owner's box here at Highmark Stadium in Buffalo. As we continue counting down to kickoff, let's rejoin Eric and Bryan.
You know, sometimes you need to put that game face on. Other times you need to put that work face on. And that's that's the task at hand here for Mazi Smith. Today's owner's box brought to you by Papa John's. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's. Now, I got some really good news here for you that I will bring you in just a second. But first, we must pause 10 seconds to allow stations to identify themselves along the Dallas Cowboys radio network.
Your turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan.
Go low, baby.
KRLD FM and HD1, Dallas Fort Worth.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Broaddus with Green Bay and Atlanta losing and Detroit winning last night. The Cowboys have officially clinched a playoff spot before kickoff.
How about that?
That's some good news.
Now find a way to go win this game and try and find a way to win this division, with what's all the things that are going along with Philadelphia.
Eagles seem like they're falling apart.
Well,
it's there for the taking.
It is, and you never know. You got to, this would be, hey, congratulations on getting in the playoffs again, but it's about, finding ways to get home games. I mean, this team, find a way to win the division. You stack these where you have these opportunities. This team is, in my opinion, they are unbeatable. They haven't lost a game at home this year. Their chances when they play at home are incredible. 15 games in a row. So yeah, the whole focus now is to just finish this thing out and win all these games and try and win the division and try and get the best seeding that you can. We get to know the enemy, brought to you by Arrow Exterminators, the official pest control provider of the Dallas Cowboys. And I think, one thing that gives me optimism for the Cowboys defensively today is knowing Joe Brady a little bit more than these past defensive coordinators have over the last few weeks. They swap out Ken Dorsey for Joe Brady, new play caller with Buffalo, new tendencies, new styles, new philosophies, and I think the element of surprise has helped the Bills' offense over the course of the last couple of games. Now for Dan Quinn and company, 3 games of tape to understand how they want to attack you. I think that's a huge advantage for the Cowboys today. All right, we keep inching closer and closer to kickoff. Let's get you ready for kickoff with the voice of the Cowboys, Brad Sham, coming up next. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
There is less than 100.
some today.
20 minutes to kick off Cowboys-Bills. Let's go to Highmark Stadium, Orchard Park, New York. We go inside the booth with the voice of the Cowboys, Brad Sham. Brought to you by the WinStar World Casino and Resort, the casino of the Dallas Cowboys. Brad, happy game day, sir. I'm saying this will be the most impressive victory of the season for the Cowboys if they can eke out a victory tonight.
Well, I think so too, Eric. And yet, the Bills have lost 6 games. They are better than average. I wonder if we make more of them than they are. I think they're very good. And their losses are such that they could have a much different record. They've got a lot of close losses. And when you look at the statistics, you look at it and you say, how have they lost 6 games? And I agree with you because of where it is and the Bills' reputation. It would be the most impressive win of the year. I think one thing I'm interested to see is how much difference is there between these teams.
Brad, the quarterbacks both play a rough and tumble style. Would you anticipate maybe we see a game where quarterbacks use their legs a little bit more than we normally see them do?
I mean, Josh Allen wants to do that, Brian, as you well know.
Yeah.
And so the trick for the Cowboys is to not let him. I just think that my sense of what Dak is doing is that he understands it's a weapon. He understands it's something that can help him, and I think he understands that if he overdoes it, that's not going to be good. He's not the fastest guy anymore, and he's got to be a little bit judicious. So I do think the quarterback run will be a weapon. I don't know. I think it might be a bigger weapon for the Bills.
Hey, congratulations is in order, Brad, because you are officially the voice of the playoff-bound Dallas Cowboys. So congrats.
Yeah, thanks. We just found out that because of all things, Carolina beat Atlanta.
Yeah.
Along with Tampa beating Green Bay, the Cowboys are in the playoffs officially, and I just think it's worth noting that this is 3 years in a row that they've been in the playoffs, and that's not what their goal is. But the last time they were in the playoffs 3 years in a row was 91 through 96. So 94, 5, 6. That's the last time. So that's an accomplishment. It's not what they're out here to do, but it's worth noting.
No question about it. All right, Brad, appreciate the time as always. Enjoy the game.
You too, fellas.
There he goes, voice of the Cowboys, Brad Sham. And now we get to the best sideline reporter in the business, Christy Scales. Her keys to the game brought to you by Pollock Aurora, proud supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. How much, Christy, will weather be a factor today?
Right now, it's not much of a factor. In fact, on a scale of 1 to 10, the rain is just a 1 right now, more of a heavy mist. The most important thing, it is not windy. Usually this is a gusty, windy, swirling wind stadium because we're so close to Lake Erie, but right now the wind is not a factor. This is an artificial surface. It's not natural grass, and so we don't have to worry about any of the mud and stuff like that. And talking with the kickers and talking with the linemen earlier, that it's not slippery right now. And pregame warm-ups, the early portion of it, Brandon Aubrey looked good and even hit one from 50-plus yards. But at the end of warm-ups, the last thing they do after the offense and defense go through their pregame, they do the equivalent of a field goal that would be like an extra point. And Brandon Aubrey clanged it off the right upright, no good. But can't blame that one on the wind conditions or the rain here. So right now we're catching a break, but as the evening progresses, there's a higher chance for rain.
And a good Cowboy contingent in Buffalo?
Surprisingly so, a lot of them from Canada. We saw a lot of cars with Ontario license plates, so a lot have come down from Canada. And behind the Cowboys bench, and even in the second and third level, we see a lot of Cowboy jerseys, and not just Cowboy jerseys, but a lot of homemade signs with the "Here we go." So the mania has infiltrated Bill's Mafia with the "Here we go."
I love it. I love it. Well, Christy, you're a beast. Appreciate the time. Stay as warm and dry as you can out there and bring home a victory.
Sounds good. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Brian.
Absolutely. There she goes, Christy Scales, and it's on us now, Broaddus. It's on us. Prediction time. I don't expect to win this game.
Okay.
I think it would be really, really, really the most impressive win of the season for the Cowboys. But I'm going to go ahead and take the Bills in this one, 28-26.
I'm going to go with the Cowboys in this one. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think the weather will play a factor at some point in time. But I think the team that manages the best will find a way to win this game. Dallas 20, Buffalo 16.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Broaddus, you're a Super Bowl champion. I'll take your word for it. Cowboys get a victory. That would be fantastic. Zach Wolchuk and Broaddus will have your halftime show, but kickoff is around the corner with Brad and Babe. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
It's big, it's good, and it's only for Cowboys.